stuff just easier for us. And recently there were headlines in the news. You may have heard this one as well. Of course, you probably did. Over an Airbnb in Alpena where the guests say they were attacked by bats. Now, joining us, of course, is our attorney, Jahan Crump Gibson from Great Lakes Legal. First of all, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am doing very well.
Great.
Now, if you're attacked by bats in an Airbnb, do you have any legal recourse? Because when you sign, you're signing that stuff.
Yeah.
You're signing everything away.
Right.
All the clauses, no liability to the owner, blah, blah, blah. Do you have any recourse?
I would think that being attacked by bats is an exception.
How?
There's always going to be some sort of exception, right? But it really just depends on the circumstances. So with Airbnb, yeah, you're signing off on all the stuff, right? But there is such a thing as host coverage, right? So if you're the property owner, you're supposed to get coverage for when things like that happen, because if somebody gets injured in your home, they're going to be looking to you to pay for it.
Right.
And that's with a regular home without a rental. You know, your guests can be covered on your insurance policy. So yes, if you are injured in the home, you absolutely can go after the owner. You may not be able to go after Airbnb because you've probably signed your life away, but you can likely go after the property owner.
Oh, so Airbnb is clear, but the property owner needs to, and so that flips over to the host. What do they need to know? They need to get that additional insurance? Yeah,
so Airbnb, Vrbo, these short-term rentals, they have an additional policy that you can buy, right? Host coverage, so you can sign up for it, but a lot of times those things have exceptions, and they may not cover incidents like the bats, which is still freaking me out. But there are companies that offer short-term rental coverage for this specific reason. So it may be a rider to an additional a policy that you already have in place on the property, or maybe something separate. So don't assume that because you had coverage at your house that it's going to cover when you convert it to an Airbnb. It might not.
And we talk about rentals often. Is the coverage for a rental different than an Airbnb? Say you have rental coverage, but then you turn it into Airbnb. Is it still covered?
It may not be. It depends. There are a lot of things that you should look at before turning your house into an Airbnb in general. It may not be allowed by the local municipality. That's one thing. Zoning, for that standpoint, because cities right now in Michigan can still decide if they want to allow short-term rentals. So that's the first thing that you should look at. The second thing that you should look at, you should call your insurance agent and say, hey, I'm going to do a short-term rental. That's different from the typical landlord-tenant situation.
Is it really? It's that different?
It is.
Wow.
At least they think so.
I'm a little surprised.
At least they think so.
Yeah. Okay. How often do you see litigation when it comes to this kind of mishap? Not just short term, but long term.
Long term. Oh, regularly. Regularly. There's always litigation when someone's living in a property that they don't own and things go wrong at a very basic level. So it's always a good idea, and clients say all the time, and insurance, and I pay for it, and I'm not getting this. It's better to have it than not, because these random things can arise. You may have a colony of bats hanging out in your basement that decide to attack your guests, or anything else can happen. Someone can fall on the property. You may have a creaky step going down into the basement that you forgot about, and they fell. Whether you're a long-term rental property owner, so you had a tenant in there for a year and that happens, or if you have an Airbnb, you need to make sure that you're covered.
That's interesting, because Airbnb is covered, but perhaps you are not. Always great information. We appreciate you.
No problem.
I appreciate you always coming in. If you want more information from Jahan or her group, it's Great Lakes Legal Group. Their website, gllegalgroup.com. That's where you'll find Jahan and her very capable team. Marielle, over to you.